I remember Mark and we had something once. It was vibrant, a living thing, a bright flame that warmed everything around us. Our laughter filled rooms. Our silences were comfortable, a shared peace that needed no words we believed in forever. Then, or at least I did, I really thought we had it all future, sketched out in shared dreams and whispered promises. Holidays, planned, children, discussed a home we would build together. Brick by brick, love felt like an unbreakable bond, then a fortress against the world's storms, a sanctuary where I felt safe, and truly myself. His eyes held promises that I trusted implicitly. His hand in mine felt like a tether to all that was good and certain in the world. We had inside jokes that only we understood, a language of our own, making a tapestry woven with shared memories and future hopes. The comfort of his presence was a constant in my life, a reassuring anchor that always seemed to ground me. But even the strongest anchors can fray, and the most vibrant flames can dwindle when left unattended, or when the air around them grows thin and cold. But time has a way of wearing things down, like water eroding stone. The edges soften the colors, fade imperceptibly. At first a subtle shift, a quiet settling into routine that felt less like peace and more like stagnation. The comfortable silences became empty gaps between conversations that never quite started or ended properly. We talked about bills, about groceries, about work, about mundane things, but never about us. Not about the spark, not about the fire that used to burn so brightly. It dimmed, and I watched it happen, feeling helpless, like a bystander in my own life, a gradual cooling that I barely noticed until it was already too late, until the warmth was gone, and only a faint ember remained, struggling to survive, to cast even the weakest glow. A profound sense of loss settled over me, a quiet grief for something that was still technically there, but had lost its essence, its very soul. The loneliness crept in. Slowly, it was a cold, quiet companion, a constant hum beneath the surface of my days, a persistent ache that I could not shake. I felt unseen, unheard, like a ghost walking through my own home. Mark was there, physically present, but emotionally distant. His gaze would pass over me, not through me. His touch became a habit, not a connection, a perfunctory gesture, devoid of the tenderness it once held. I yearned for something more, something that would make me feel alive again, truly seen, truly desired. Not just for the sake of habit, but for genuine passion, for an acknowledgement of my own being, for someone to look at me and see past the surface to the yearning woman beneath a longing that grew stronger each day. A gaping void in my heart that grew wider with every passing week, every untouched moment, every unshared thought, a desperate hunger for connection. Then Daniel came into my life, not with a bang, but with a whisper, a gentle intrusion, a quiet force that slowly began to fill that aching void. He was a new colleague at work. His eyes held a depth that drew me in, a warmth that melted some of the ice around my heart. He listened, truly listened, when I spoke about my day, about my thoughts, about my fears. He remembered small details about me, things Mark had long forgotten, or perhaps never noticed, a particular coffee order, a subtle preference for a certain kind of music, a passing comment about a childhood dream. He saw me in a way I had not been seen in years, maybe ever. Not since the very beginning with Mark, before the dullness set in, before the routine stole our vibrancy. His attention was a balm to my wounded spirit, a recognition that felt like a lifeline. Our conversations started innocently enough. Coffee breaks, stolen moments by the water cooler. a shared laugh over a silly email, a discussion about a difficult project. Then it became lingering chats after hours in the empty office building, a comfortable ease between us that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I felt a flicker of that old spark, that warmth I had missed so desperately. It was a dangerous feeling, a forbidden fruit, dangling tantalizingly, just out of reach. The pull was undeniable, a magnetic force drawing me closer to a precipice. I knew I should avoid, but could not resist. The lure of feeling seen. Feeling understood was too powerful, too intoxicating a drug that promised escape from the gray monotony of my existence, and I found myself craving more of it, with an intensity that surprised and frightened me. One evening we stayed late working on a project, just the two of us. The office was quiet. The city lights twinkled outside the window. A sense of intimacy hung in the air, thicker than any fog. He looked at me, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt truly seen, truly desired. His hand brushed mine, accidentally on the keyboard. A jolt went through me, an electric current that woke up parts of my soul I thought were long dead. That was the moment the line blurred. The boundary dissolved, a silent agreement passing between us, a recognition of a shared, unspoken yearning, a mutual understanding that something significant was about to change. A point of no return had been crossed, and I felt both terrified and utterly alive. A paradox of emotions that swirled within me, a maelstrom of longing and dread. It began softly, with a kiss that tasted of unspoken longing and regret, a silent promise of fleeting solace. Then it became a clandestine affair, a secret world we built together, brick by painful brick of lies and stolen moments. Every text message, every late-night call, every hurried meeting, every furtive glance felt like walking on a tightrope high above an abyss. The thrill was intoxicating. The fear was paralyzing. I was two different people, one at home playing the devoted wife, the other with Daniel consumed by a passion that felt both illicit and deeply necessary. A profound disconnect between my public and private selves, a fracturing of my identity that left me constantly on edge, yet strangely invigorated by the danger of it all. With Daniel I felt vibrant, I felt intelligent, I felt beautiful. He made me believe in my own worth again. He saw the woman I used to be, and the woman I yearned to become, away from the dullness of routine and the quiet expectations of my old life. Our passion was intense, a burning fire that consumed me in those stolen hours. It was selfish. I knew that a betrayal of everything Mark and I had built. But in those moments I could not stop. I would not stop. The sheer intensity of feeling alive again eclipsed any moral qualms, a desperate grasp at happiness. However fleeting, however wrong, however damaging, a selfish pursuit of my own desires at the expense of others. A profound act of self-gratification disguised as a quest for happiness. The guilt was a heavy cloak I wore constantly. It weighed me down, made me restless. Sleepless nights spent staring at the ceiling. Mark's even breathing beside me, a constant reminder of my deceit. I loved him. In my own way, a deep, comfortable love, but it was not the same fire. It was a different kind of warmth, a familiar blanket, a worn comfort. But Daniel offered a different kind of heat, a dangerous, seductive flame that threatened to burn my whole world down. A constant battle waged within me, between comfort and craving, between loyalty and longing, a war I was losing day by day. A war that left me drained and emotionally bruised, a prisoner of my own making, confined by my own choices. I told myself it was just temporary. A phase, a way to feel alive again, to escape the suffocating sameness of my life with Mark. I tried to rationalize my actions, to justify the lies, to convince myself that I deserved this fleeting happiness, this forbidden joy. But deep down I knew it was wrong, profoundly wrong, a wound I was inflicting not just on Mark, but on myself, on my own integrity. Each lie was a tiny cut, each secret a corrosive acid eating away at my soul, a slow self-destruction, disguised as liberation, a gradual erosion of my core values. Betrayal of the person I once thought I was, a descent into a moral gray area that left me deeply unsettled and full of self-loathing. The double life was exhausting. Maintaining two different narratives, two different versions of myself. It was a constant performance, a high-wire act with no safety net. I felt fractured, broken into pieces that could never quite fit together again. I longed for honesty, for simplicity, for a life where I could be truly myself without pretense. But I was trapped by my own choices, by the web of deceit. I had spun around myself. Every encounter with Mark became tinged with falseness. Every hug felt like a lie, every smile a mask. I was losing myself in the labyrinth of my own, making a stranger in my own skin, a puppet controlled by the threads of my own making, unable to break free from the tangled mess. There were moments of pure bliss with Daniel, moments where I forgot everything else. The world outside our secret bubble ceased to exist. His touch, his words, his presence was all that mattered in those precious stolen hours. But then reality would come crashing back. The phone would ring, or I would see Mark's face, and the guilt would return, a crushing wave of remorse and self-loathing, a sickening lurch in my stomach, a stark reminder of the wreckage I was creating, a price I would eventually have to pay, a payment in pain and sorrow and irreparable damage to the foundations of my life. I started to resent Mark, not for his actions, but for my own, for the position I had put myself in. I blamed him for our distant relationship, for the emptiness that had allowed Daniel to step in. It was unfair. I knew it was deeply unfair, but it was an easier burden to carry than the full weight of my own responsibility, than acknowledging my own agency in the slow decay of our connection, than admitting my part in the growing chasm between us, a bitter pill to swallow. Yet one I continued to choose to avoid the harsher truth of my own culpability. A cowardice that shamed me but felt necessary for survival, for avoiding the unbearable weight of my own choices. The end came not with a dramatic reveal, but with a quiet understanding, a painful realization. I could not sustain it anymore. The emotional toll was too great, the lies too heavy to bear. I saw the pain I was causing myself, the potential devastation I was preparing for Mark, for all of us. I knew I had to choose. I had to make a decision, a final difficult choice, a decision to reclaim some fragment of my integrity, to stop the bleeding, before it became fatal for everyone involved, for my own soul, a desperate plea for a return to some semblance of sanity, a yearning for peace that outweighed the thrill of the forbidden ending. It with Daniel was one of the hardest things I have ever done. He was hurt. I was hurt. It felt like tearing a part of myself away. A limb. I had grown accustomed to a forbidden comfort I had come to rely on, but it was necessary for my own sanity. For what little integrity I had left, I told him it was over, that I could not continue living a lie, that I needed to face the consequences of my actions. The words were raw and painful, a testament to the depth of our illicit connection. But they were true, and they needed to be spoken to set us both free from the prison we had built, from the suffocating cage of our secret affair. A moment of profound sadness, yet also a strange relief. The silence after Daniel left was deafening, a stark contrast to the passionate chaos that had filled my life for so long. I was alone with my thoughts, with my guilt, with the wreckage of my choices. I had to look at myself in the mirror and acknowledge the person I had become, the choices I had made, the pain I had inflicted. I had to face the truth, without the distractions, without the thrill of the forbidden, without the comforting illusion of escape, a cold, hard reality. I could no longer run from a reckoning with my own flawed self, a moment of brutal honesty that left me feeling stripped bare and vulnerable. I walked back into my home, into the life I had almost destroyed, with a heavy heart, a profound sense of sorrow and regret. Mark was there. Unsuspecting, unaware, his presence was both a comfort and a sharp reminder of